Welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning to North and South America, and good afternoon to the UK and Europe, and good evening to those of you in Hong Kong and Japan. And what are you doing still awake? Thanks for joining us. I'm Curtis Staples, Director of Customer Success and Marketing with Cinnafilm, and welcome to our webinar today, Elevate Your Media Conversion Workflows, Transform the way you store, access, and convert your media. Joining us today is Mark Habberfield, Senior Solutions Architect with Perifery, a division of DataCore, and he'll be discussing the inner workings and details of their product, Object Matrix. And Dominic Jackson, who's the Vice President of Product and Services with Cinnafilm, the makers of PixelStrings, that you'll be hearing more about today. Just quickly before I hand off, I want to remind everybody that over the course of the webinar, at any point, you can insert questions into the chat function in the interface. We may be able to cover some of those as we go. We'll also be having a look at them and ordering them and using them at the end. Our intention today is to get through the material in 30 to 35 minutes and approximately 10-15 minutes of Q&A at the end, and aiming to be out in about 45 minutes or so. I think with that, I'll hand off to Mark and Dom, and let them take it away. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you very much for joining today for this webinar. And thank you, Dom, for working with us. Yeah, Perifery and Cinnafilm, through the need of a customer, decided to partner up and provide a great solution. But before we get to that, let me just quickly tell you a little bit about us. Perifery is a fairly new brand, but it's storage that comes from multiple storage companies that have years and years of history. DataCore, the main software company, purchased up the Caringo brand, the Maya Data brand, and the Object Matrix brands in the last few years. And in each one of those brands, we've got over 20 years worth of storage technology, and bringing out the Perifery brand to loop all that together for the M&E industry. And that kind of leaves us with a product stack that is ever evolving and ever improving. It's a product stack that's been born out of years of development, talking to our customers, providing solutions for our customers, whether it's the Swarm storage, the Object Matrix, and the new AI Plus tools that are coming into the system as we speak. Perifery is really built for the next generation of media and entertainment workflows. As with most storage companies, you can kind of expect the storage to have the key things that you require: security, scalability, ease of use, simple management, all the things that the M&E industry really loves. But certainly Object Matrix and Swarm have been built specifically for the media industries. They've got simple S3 interfaces. They also support file system interfaces, which actually fits into many, many different media workflows. And we have a suite of applications that really do provide for our hundreds of customers to access their data, their nearline, their archive, and their videos in a really cost-effective and feature-rich system that really does give the real benefit to the end user of access to their videos in a way that fits to their workflows rather than just a simple system. And that's my bit over with, so I'll hand over to Dom now and ask Dom to take over my screen and tell us a little bit more about Cinnafilm.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you everybody for joining us today. So my name is Dom Jackson. I'm the VP of Product for Cinnafilm. And if I can get the slide switch to work, there we go. For those of you who aren't familiar with Cinnafilm, I thought I'd give a very brief introduction. So we've actually been around since about 2007. There's been various iterations of product, but really our DNA through that whole time as a company has been around advanced image processing for video, specifically for the media and entertainment industry. And the latest and current sort of iteration of that is a product called PixelStrings that I'll talk about in a little while, and about how that can be used to rejuvenate and repurpose content from your storage and archives. Along the way, we're very proud of the fact that we've picked up 3 HPA Engineering Excellence Awards, and I believe we are the only company who's ever won 3 of those. Just trying to, there we go. We are used by some of the biggest names in the media and entertainment world. We're also used by many, much smaller customers, but we're trusted by the big guys. And really, as I said, the product we want to talk about today is PixelStrings. And PixelStrings is a fully automated media processing platform. It's available in the cloud as software as a service, or it's available for customers to install on their own infrastructure on a subscription or a usage-based pricing model. It uses GPU accelerated processing, and we partner with best of breed technologies from people like Skywalker Sound, Lucasfilm, and Technicolor to build out additional functionality in the tool set. And then obviously we integrate tightly with people like Perifery and Object Matrix to help customers, automate their end-to-end workflows. And really today, one of the major use cases for PixelStrings is what we call content conversion and rejuvenation. And this is really what we're talking about today, taking an archive or older content potentially and optimizing it for newer distribution channels like VOD, like FAST, like a UHD distribution or an HDR distribution, where the asset wasn't in the right format for that previously. And in more detail, the kind of processes we're talking about here are deinterlacing content. Obviously, any OTT content delivery these days will need to be progressive. If you have older content that has noise or egregious film grain that you need to get rid of, we will help remove that. Obviously, we have very high quality scaling algorithms, SD to HD conversion, HD to UHD conversion. If you're going from SD to HD, you'll obviously need to change aspect ratio. We have the industry's best motion compensated frame rate conversion algorithms. We can do automated run length adjustment, so we can make an asset 3 to 5% longer or shorter, absolutely imperceptibly to the viewer. We can do SDR to HDR and HDR to SDR conversions. We can add texture as well as removing noise and grain. We can actually simulate texture and grain, which allows content to look perhaps as it was intended to by the original creators. And then we also obviously do audio processing. You may need to change loudness, remap channels, up mix or down mix. And as I mentioned earlier, our audio processing tools are actually provided by our partners at Skywalker Sound. And PixelStrings will do all of this in a single automated pass, accessing content on your storage, processing it, and then passing it back to the storage, as Mark will now demonstrate. Thank you, Mark.
No worries. Thank you, Dom, and thank you for that. I am going to just kill my video quickly because I really do want to concentrate on the demonstration itself and make sure that you guys see how simple and easy it is to set up a bucket, a space, and get yourself going. You can see here, I'm straight into the administration, whether this is an on-prem object matrix or a cloud object matrix, or whether you put it in a data center, you should be able to access it. There are other security layers, the two-factor authentication. I've just approved my browser. But the key to object matrix is the fact that you get to choose what you want to do with your data. You can name the buckets anything you like. You can decide the protection layer. Am I going to keep 2 copies? Am I going to replicate the data? Am I going to protect it with a simple low-level trash can, or am I going to actually give it a full actual worm capability for a period of time and lock that data for longer? But as I said earlier, object matrix is certainly built for the media industry. And when you ring up our engineers for any reason, all of our engineers understand codecs, video formats, and all the things that you guys work with every day. And one of those features that built into the storage is something called process in place. And that's the ability to actually extract metadata. Anything media info, any camera metadata, anything that's passed through Adobe, you see the XMP side of things, anything in the CPL files of IMFs, and even AS11, AS10. And that is it. I have simply set myself up a bucket, and I could straight away give us some access to it. In fact, I think I'll do just that straight away, and you've straight away got yourself going and up and running. You know, ACL's tied in with Active Directory, Azure Directory, or Okta, all the usual kind of features you'd expect. But when it's on-prem, all of these features can also be tied in with the file system, as well as the remote users being access the data via standard HTTPS protocols. One of the main benefits of object matrix comes along with what we like to call vision. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've got a one-time password to get through here, but it could be single sign-on. It doesn't have to be this exact route. And this was something I was not expecting to happen, in case you're wondering. And have lots of them, but you can see that you do need these kind of protections in a modern world to give you the access to your data. I can actually protect that for a little while longer, but straight away, not only am I accessing the data, my buckets on the left, my data in the middle, but more importantly, metadata on the right-hand side. I didn't enter all this metadata, it was just simply extracted. The video had some, obviously passed through Adobe at some point. It's got a few creation dates. I could dive into all formats of metadata, and I can search all those formats very, very easily. All vaults, current folders, even a fuzzy search if I don't quite know how to. Now, unlike a MAM, this is not a MAM. This is loading the objects and the metadatas live. So if this instance of vision wasn't available to me, I could just spin up another one very, very quickly and easily. And again, it can talk to direct storage. I can get links. They can be internal links where I use username and password, or I can get expiring links. I can decide that people can only play the video, or people can instead play the video. They can scrub the timeline. They can even do some very simple subclipping or partial file restore. That really comes into its own with the sports side of things. You know, you don't want to bring back the 4-hour tennis match or the rather long football game. What you want to do is just go in, grab the clip you want. You could drop it into the same location, or in my case, I'm going to send it straight to a folder, another vault bucket, which is tied into PixelStrings. And as quick and easy as that, we are away. I could really talk you through so many features in here that gives you that added bonus, the ability to upload and download through here. It's tied in with file acceleration applications. So you can also send massive amounts of data to and from your object matrix just quick and easily through the vision interface. But let me talk about what we actually did here. So again, we've actually got a couple of customers testing this at the moment, and it was one of 3 customers who actually said to us, "Hey, Mark, we're looking at PixelSprings. Are we going to get these things working together?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll have a look. I'd like to do that. Anytime a customer comes to us with a requirement, we'll have a look." at that requirement. And I have to say, incredibly easy. I jumped on the PixelStrings website, signed up, got myself logged in, and straight away I had very easily connected my system, my storage, straight to PixelSprings. Exactly, just filled out a few endpoints, secret key and access key ID, and away we go. We've got ourselves a connection, and you can see that little sub clip I just created is already there. Okay, this one's not a big one. We're obviously using something slightly smaller, but you can see I've been playing with some big ones before, and it is quite simple and easy to just get ourselves up and running. Straight away, I could choose one of the built-in formats. I could go to any one of them. For the purposes of this webinar, we set up a dedicated one. Dom helped me through that bit. But the first time I used it, I just picked a standard one, and straight away found myself on such an intuitive system that I was able to get to it straight away. In this case, I'm just going to flip it into test mode, and all test mode does just give me a little chance to try it first. Doesn't need to be done, but it actually gives a 50% discount. I should say, and I think Dom will clarify this later, there's a minimum rate, which is what I'm hitting on this particularly short video. But again, it is super quick and easy.
Yeah, just to chime in here, Mark, thank you. Yes, so it's processed in increments of a minute. So even though this is a very short clip, it'll bill for a minute. And clicking that test mode button puts a small watermark that doesn't really impact your ability to assess visual quality onto the image, and it reduces your cost by 50%. So what would have been $1.99 is now 99 cents, plus a small egress fee. Thanks, Mark.
Great. Well, like I said, it is that simple. My job is on the order form. I can place the order and the job is submitted. You can see how easy this was. I think it took me under 15 minutes to get myself going, straight out the back. And straight away, I believe we have a job in progress. In fact, it's done the first step and it's gone to the second step. So Indeed. At this point, I'll hand over to Dom, who should be able to take control of my screen and should be able to talk us around PixelSprings a bit more.
Sure, thanks, Mark. So while this job is processing, we'll just go and take a little look at the PixelStrings configuration interface. Except my control of the UI is not working right now.
How about now?
I just want to hop in and congratulate the guys for working without a net today. We talked about it. We decided, no, we're not going to show a canned demo that's been recorded. We're going to turn this thing on and run it live. And that's what you're all seeing today, obviously.
Doing it for real. All right. So this, as we're waiting for the, rather than watching a progress bar, we'll talk a little bit about the configuration here in PixelStrings. So basically what we're going to be doing is determining the characteristics of our output file, and on occasion providing some information about the input file as well, though generally speaking, PixelStrings does a pretty good job of working out what's coming in and doing the right thing based on that. So in this case, we've asked for a QuickTime output with a ProRes video codec. The input we could see from the vision interface was a 2997 interlaced file, and we're going to convert it to a 25 frame per second progressive file. In this case, we're not changing the size of the video or the aspect ratio, so we don't need to worry about that, but we have the ability to crop and pad and modify aspect ratios as necessary, and we can preview all of that. we could select a number of different audio templates that are configured here in the modules area. So this is the configuration for the Skywalker sound toolset. So this will do channel remapping, up mixing, down mixing, loudness regulation, and so on. We'll also, going back into workflows here, we have some ability to handle sidecar metadata, captioning, and so on, mostly captioning, closed captioning. Tachyon, this is where we configure the details of frame rate conversion and deinterlacing and so on. We have very advanced tools for handling things like anime content or dealing with various different pull-down patterns that were used originally to convert film content to video. Dark Energy here is our noise reduction tool set. So this is, and indeed our tool set for adding texture. So we have various presets here that say, this was content that was originated on standard definition content, but came from a film scan, and that will modify the denoising and degraining settings to the optimum settings for that kind of content. And then you can go in, obviously, and override that in detail to change the way it works and add different amounts of texture and grain and such like to the output. Xenon is the tool set for converting SDR to HDR or HDR to SDR. As I mentioned earlier, this is based on some technologies that were developed by Technicolor. And then we have some video legalization tools as well. And if we go back to the jobs, we'll see that our job has completed. And I think Mark can go back into the vision interface and show us the output there.
Yeah, well, this is where the proof is in the pudding, and hopefully we should be able to go back to our vision interface. You are right, I forgot to mention that media info is quite a useful thing in this particular case. We can see the assets, total bit rate, we can see that it's drop frame, aspect ratio, and that it's progressive as well. And we can do that with any video, any type of video. We will drag out that media info and see it. So my source file, this one that we created, became my destination file. And it should be right around about, no, I apologize, it went back to the other vault. So yeah, this is the source file, and this is the upgraded final file. And we can see the overall size of the completed file, 53.63 megabytes, and the source file was more around 7.19 megabytes. So that's still just processing in the background. And as you'd expect, you would see the proxy and the thumbnail pop up shortly, and the media info as well. So how long did that total job take? I know it was a short one, but very simple. 15 minutes to set up, a few minutes to work around your archive, generate some subclips, a few minutes to go into PixelStrings and start your jobs, and a few minutes later, you've got your new assets ready to distribute out to whoever needs them.
And just to emphasize, if you weren't using a platform like PixelStrings, your alternative might be either taking that file and delivering it to a company that was going to do the work for you, or have that file pulled down onto local edit, manually edited, put through tools in an edit suite, which could take half an hour, several hours on occasion. And we've compacted that down to just a few minutes of work and a few dollars of cost.
The other thing I was going to mention, Mark, you're talking about the time it takes to do a job. Obviously when you're doing multiple jobs with the same settings, your setup is about the same. You're running from templates. So in fact, as time goes on, those timelines get shorter and shorter. We've certainly found that, and maybe you found that already as well. The other thing I want to mention is Mark is running this today using PixelStrings in the cloud. Maybe this would be a good time to just talk about the various forms that the two companies make their products available, and so that people are aware that there are options available in both cases to suit how companies are configured. Mark, do you want to talk about objects matrix and how that can be configured and integrated to people's workflows?
Yes, certainly. I mean, back when we started back in 2003, I think we set it up on some pretty old old servers with some pretty small disks, and the disks have grown year on year, as you know, and we're now up with some pretty hefty disks and some pretty big hardware. So typically, most of our customers, they want the kind of performance where they have an on-premise solution, or they'll put object matrix into a data center. But actually, more and more, they don't want to worry about the hardware, they just want a bit of space. So we also have Object Matrix Cloud, and that's what I'm using today. And we have quite a few customers using that today where they just self-serve. With the cloud option, they've only got the HTTP protocols and the file accelerators built in. But with the on-prem, obviously they have more options as well. So they can, depending on the pipe to their own data center, or if it's in their own facility, get the file system access that they want. So it is very much even if you have an on-prem, you can treat it like a private cloud. You can serve out the bits you want to the internet. You can keep the other bits really securely behind all your firewalls and only available to internal stakeholders. Yeah.
Dom, so over to you to do maybe the same discussion points about PixelStrings.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Chris. So PixelStrings again will run either as a full SaaS service, which is hosted in AWS. That's what we were looking at today. But exactly the same software stack will work in a customer's environment. That could be on actual, metal hardware. It could be in the customer's cloud instances. It could be in a customer's virtualized environment. And, PixelStrings in the cloud could talk to Object Matrix on-prem. PixelStrings on-prem could talk to Object Matrix in the cloud. We can go ground to ground, ground to cloud, however you would need to configure it, depending on where your storage is, what your cloud connectivity is like, and so on. We really want people to have the flexibility to run where and how they need to run their workflows.
Question for you, Mark. From the question is, from the very beginning, when you first started to put these two platforms together to run a job, how long would you say that took you?
I think my first setup, and obviously I've got the advantage of knowing Object Matrix very well, so I could whip that bit out of the way in a few minutes of setting up the vault to my user. But within the PixelStrings interface, as soon as I got in there, it was so familiar. Find the storage, enter in the endpoint. I was straight away connected to Object Matrix. I could straight away see my objects. I had a little bit of attempt to work out which profile I was going for the first time, and I probably didn't get it right the first time, but the second time I just went with a standard profile, pressed go, and I took quite a big file. Actually, I ended up taking a HD file and turning it into a UHD file. So I let it tick away in the background. It probably took me, well, I mean, it went from a 10 gig file for a 2-minute clip, and it went to a 18 gig file. So it really did boost it right up and really prove the power. And I think, again, it only took, I'm sure my first test was, well, $4. It wasn't very long. It wasn't very expensive. And I thought, well, Curtis owes me a coffee for that one, but we'll happy to get it all going. So, you know, it is incredibly intuitive, and that's what I liked about it. And that's why I can really see the power for our customers as well.
That's great. Dom, question, if there's any more detailed, how does Cinnafilm deal with, or PixelStrings in this case, deal with handling metadata during or after the process is complete?
Well, metadata is a term that covers a multitude of sins. There's all kinds of metadata. There's various kinds of metadata that are embedded in the file. We can handle some of that. For instance, we can insert various kinds of HDR metadata, signaling color spaces and things like that. We obviously handle various formats of caption metadata, so SCC files, DFXP files, those kind of things. We can take video content that has embedded captions and make outputs with sidecar captions. We can take embedded captions in and embedded out, or sidecar in and embedded out, or various combinations of that. So I think, you know, if you have very specific workflows with very specific metadata requirements, you know, by all means get in touch. You know, info@cinnafilm.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you about your specific metadata needs for your workflows.
Cool. Another question, can you run this from an API? And maybe both of you can address that from each of your perspectives. You know, and in this case, a unified solution with Object Matrix and PixelStrings. You know, Mark's run PixelStrings today through the UI, and he's, you know, basically, let's talk about what are the options that, you know, for further automation.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, you know, we've always listened to our customers when it comes to the roadmap. So we do regular customer sessions and regular catch up. And for the last 15 years, the product has been really built by our customers. They request features. We don't always get to them straight away, but we will get to them, and we do typically embed them in. And the more requests we get for it, the more likely it is to happen quickly. So I guess the question is, we've done it with file accelerators. We've made it so that you can trigger workflows to send off to cold archives and deep archives. And it's actually quite simple to talk to any API. I know you guys have an API, and it's something that I'd happily look at for our customers if that came up. And I guess, Dom, if you should tell us a bit more about the API.
Sure, I can do that very quickly. So PixelStrings has a very simple REST API, and essentially, if you can do it through the UI, you can do it through the API. You can submit jobs, you can configure workflows, configure storage, all of that stuff. It can all, as I said, if it's done through the user interface, then it can be done through the APIs.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you. Mark, where on planet Earth is my data stored if I'm in your cloud version?
In our cloud version, the current version is in the UK at the moment. We've got 2 data centers that we keep Object Matrix Cloud in. We are looking to grow that out. It's also a smaller system in South Africa at the moment. It's a growing market, and we hope to get it in other places. But realistically, we've got customers in the Nordics using it, and even a couple in New York as well. And the reason they're using it, the benefits that we bring, but actually the file acceleration piece is the piece that allows that to happen. We've got a customer who's currently filming a travel show in Mongolia, and they're actually uploading their dailies straight into Object Matrix Cloud. And lo and behold, they're watching those dailies back because we've generated the proxy before they've got on the plane and made their way home. So it is really more about how you move the data around these days as opposed to where the data is. But obviously we understand sovereignty is important to a lot of people, and at that point we would look at the object matrix on-prem solutions.
Right. Right. While we're covering that, Dom, where does Cinnafilm run PixelStrings in the cloud iteration?
So yeah, PixelStrings plus the SaaS platform that we were looking at runs in AWS. Currently, it runs in US West, US East, and Ireland. But we're looking at expanding that into other regions.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. This was covered in a general term, but perhaps there's more detail for both of you. If I want to use object matrix and PixelStrings together, as we discussed today, do they both need to be in the cloud, or do both need to be on-prem, or can I combine a mix of each, on-prem with one and cloud for the other, and so on?
Yeah, certainly can do. Every object matrix comes as an S3 endpoint, so whether it's the OM cloud or whether it's your own object matrix with the S3 gateway, and yeah.
Okay.
So any combination of I guess there's 4 possible combinations, and you can do any one of them, one of the 4.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Mark, do you want to? Is there any more background you can provide us with the? I'll just sort of somebody who just spent some time discovering your company in greater detail in the last few months. It seems like, I mean, you have specific capabilities that are obviously, as you say, listening to your clients, and obviously have made it a strong product for media and entertainment data storage. Are there any other elements within that you feel are enhanced capabilities for people in the media and entertainment to use your platform? I mean, file acceleration is the obvious one because our files are really large. Automatic proxy generation is extremely handy. So Dom, we'll make a note not to get into the business of making proxies for storage companies.
I think it's well, I mean, it's a specialism, isn't it? It's when you pick up the phone and you do need somebody, knowing that all of our support staff are media and entertainment specific, all of our developers media and entertainment specific. When we do develop a tool, we look at which customers it's great for. We know that metadata is king, and I guess the other side of things is we also have a strong belief that data is owned by the customer. It's their data, it's their metadata. They should be able to get back to it, and that's kept us in good stead over many years. And making sure that we've had customers for 10, 12 years, same logical cluster, different hardware, seamless migrations. But again, just knowing about the videos so that when things do go wrong, and we can, every software at some point will have something happen, but it's how you react to that, and knowing our customers the way we do, it really does ensure that the customer feels like they're getting a media and entertainment experience.
Yeah, thank you. For you, Dom, can PixelStrings be? There's a second here. Well, basically, can I use it as a full-on standards conversion device?
Absolutely. That's what it was built for. That's what it's intended for. The question really should be, can I use it for general transcoding? And the answer is, of course, yes. But our core skill set has always been around standards conversion, frame rate conversions, deinterlacing, ST to HD conversions, and so on. And we think that we're as good as anyone else in the world at this. There's some well-respected, long-standing tools out there that maybe are a little bit long in the tooth now, and I think we're probably the most current tool and the one under the most active development.
Okay, thank you. There don't seem to be any more questions at this point. Either of you have any final words before we bid good night to our friends in Asia and good evening to folks in Europe? Mark?
Just, thank you everyone who's stuck with us this long. Hopefully you've seen something that's of interest. I know there's a lot of sports and historical archives out there that are active on Object Matrix, and I'm really keen to see some of my favorite sports videos and games improved and then brought back to us. So I know I'm looking forward to more great content coming to us. Thank you, Dom and Curtis, for helping set up this great webinar, and thank you everybody.
You bet. Dom?
And again, thanks Mark and the whole team for working on the webinar. Thank you all for coming and listening. I hope you've really learned a little bit more about Perifery and Object Matrix, and also Cinnafilm and PixelStrings, and specifically how those two systems and companies can work together to really streamline and optimize your media workflows. And you can see on the screen here, if you would like more information on either product, please hello@perifery.com or info@cinnafilm.com, and we'll be more than happy to engage and answer questions and any questions you might have.
Yeah, you bet. And thanks, guys, for figuring out a way to cover this in enough detail to have it make sense, but do it in less than an hour or hour and a half. There's obviously a lot more to this story, and as Dom said, if you want to explore this in greater detail with respect to your own companies and operations, reach out to either of the gentlemen, and both companies obviously are more than happy to help you transform your business in any way that you need to do to accelerate and elevate how you handle your content. And from me, thank you again for joining us, and watch your inbox. We'll have another one of these, both of us, in our own separate ways, and maybe together post NAB. We'll have another one of these for you to join us in. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.